Liberal Viewer present.
So while Barack Obama was looking very presidential sitting down with Iraqi government officials on Monday, John McCain's campaign tried to grab some media attention by picking a fight with the New York Times, telling the Drudge Report about the Times rejecting McCain's editorial on Iraq after accepting an editorial from Obama the week before. But if you compare McCain's editorial rejected by the Times, now posted on the Drudge Report, with Obama's editorial the Times printed, it's easy to understand the rejection. The McCain piece was mainly an attack on Obama, very different from the Obama editorial in which, as New York Times deputy editor David Shipley explained in his email to the McCain campaign, quote, "While Senator Obama discussed Senator McCain, he also went into detail about his own plans," unquote. And because the New York Times asked both Obama and McCain for policy plans, not attack pieces, it wasn't unreasonable of the New York Times to reiterate to McCain that his article, quote, would have to articulate in concrete terms how Senator McCain defines victory in Iraq. It would also have to lay out a clear plan for achieving victory with troops levels, timetables, and measures for compelling the Iraqis to cooperate, unquote. But the McCain campaign put a very different spin on the New York Times rejection, as you can hear Carl Cameron helpfully pass on to the Fox News audience in this clip.
What aides say is that the op-ed that Senator McCain wrote, which was an outline of his Iraq policies, somehow or other didn't make the cut with the New York Times because the New York Times insisted, they say, that the op-ed include a timetable with specific levels for troop withdrawals.
Now, as I previously showed, while the New York Times email mentioned timetables, the word withdrawal never appeared in it. But that didn't stop Fox News' Trace Gallagher from passing on Carl Cameron's acceptance of the McCain campaign spin as fact, as you can see in this clip.
Carl Cameron just kind of laid it out for us, Jill, that the New York Times rejected John McCain's op-ed because he would not put a timeline for troop withdrawal. That's astounding.
And Trace Gallagher kept repeating that McCain spin as reported fact, as you can see him adding his own imaginative touch a little later here.
I've got to imagine that John McCain was fit to be tied when they told him, well, we'll run your op-ed as long as you give us a timetable for troop withdrawal from Iraq.
And, unbelievably, a few minutes later, when Trace Gallagher is confronted with what New York Times deputy editor David Shipley actually wrote, he fails to correct his multiple previous mistakes, just forging boldly forward in this clip.
Carl Cameron laid it out for us because John McCain would not give a timeline for troop withdrawal, and now our crack producers over at the political desk have got the email sent from the New York Times to the McCain campaign. Sarah Courtney, what does it read?
That's right, Trace. The McCain campaign gave this to Fox directly. This was a letter from David Shipley. He's the deputy editor, page editor for the New York Times. He suggests, actually, that McCain, how McCain should go about editing his article. He said he wouldn't air it the way it was written. Right. To that end, the article would have to articulate in concrete terms how Senator McCain defines victory in Iraq.
Wow. It would also have to lay out a clear plan for achieving victory with troop levels, timetables, are you reading that? Timetables and measures for compelling the Iraqis to cooperate. That's the letter, the email sent from the New York Times to the McCain campaign saying, sure, we'll run your op-ed if you write it our way.
So, even after reading the actual email that never mentions withdrawal, Trace Gallagher still never corrects the false McCain talking points he passed off as true multiple times on the air. Yet, the part of this Fox News spin campaign that may be most disturbing came later that afternoon when Jeff Birnbaum attempted to explain the New York Times rejection without adding in the word withdrawal, and was immediately prompted by Fox News Washington managing editor Brit Hume to stick to the McCain spin, as you can see in this clip.
The Times said what, Jeff?
Said that they would very much like to publish a response, but what was sent in needs to be rewritten because it needs to be essentially less an attack on Obama and more about McCain's proposals in Iraq that includes actual timetables, is the word that's included there, and how victory for withdrawal and how victory can be achieved there.
So what do you think? When Fox News keeps broadcasting the McCain talking points on withdrawal all day, even after being contradicted by the actual email, could that be categorized as a contribution to the McCain campaign? And given that the Oxford English Dictionary defines a timetable as a list or plan of times at which events are scheduled to take place, Is it really too much to ask presidential candidates to include timetables in their policy proposals, even if those timetables may change based on future events?
YouTube, you decide.